Welcome to the Jeff Knows Inc. Entrepreneurial Show with your host, Jeff Lopes.
We are live on the Jeff Knows Inc. podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Lopes. Super excited to have on today Brad Johnson. Obviously, football, now kind of getting known for this incredible TikTok trick shots. And we're going to talk it's going to be a fun conversation today. So how are you, brother?
I'm doing great. Appreciate you reaching out and having a little fun with you here on the podcast and being live and all the above. So look forward to sharing some stories.
It's going to be fun today. I always start off my podcast by essentially learning what the individual is doing currently, but I want to switch it around. I want to talk about Brad Johnson. Where'd you grow up? How many siblings? What was your first entry into the football realm? And did you have like family that played? Like, how did you get into that and all that? Let's just start off by Brad as a child. Where'd you grow up?
Grew up in Black Mountain, North Carolina, small town outside of Asheville, North Carolina, western part of North Carolina. My dad ran camps called Camp Ridgecrest and Camp Crestridge for boys and girls, Christian camps, archery, horseback, camping, overnight, basketball, soccer, all the above. So I grew up playing 2-square, 4-square, ball in my hands, competing and spending my time in tents, in cabins. And my mom, PE teacher, became a guidance counselor. Became a assistant principal. I went to a school called Owen High School there. Roy Williams was the basketball coach there, who's Hall of Fame coach for North Carolina. Brad Doherty was the superstar player there, was an NBA player. So I kind of looked up to him. My sister, Julie, she's 6 years younger than me, and she grew up one of my biggest fans. So growing up there in a small town, I grew up on a mountain with a dirt road. My basketball goal was on a telephone pole with a wooden backboard, and that's true. And if it snowed too much, we had to walk up the mountain, kind of those things. So, Billy Graham, he was in the same area, Christian evangelist. So that's kind of where we were. And then I chose to go to Florida State University in Tallahassee, and I had a hard time figuring out my whole life if I was going to play football or basketball, and I ended up choosing football. So that's kind of where get you started a little bit.
Basketball wise, what positions did you play?
I was a natural forward. So I'd call that the 3 position.
Yeah.
I played basketball every day of my life from second grade on to my freshman year of college. Basketball is my love. I grew up being a Larry Bird fan, a Chris Mullin fan.
Yeah.
I'm in my ping pong room here now. I don't know if you can see, I got posters of my childhood, Larry Bird posters. I don't know if you can see all those back there.
Yeah.
So that was, I want to be like Larry Bird. I want to play for the Boston Celtics and play on the parquet floor. One year, my senior year, I took my senior year trip with my mom and dad. We went up to Boston, went to see the Pro Basketball Hall of Fame, walked down to the Boston Gardens on the parquet floor and looked at all the banners, snuck in the in the basement garage there to get on the floor. And but I want to be. I was the 3A Player of the Year coming out of North Carolina. I scored 2,392 points, and I had a hard time deciding if I was going to want to play college basketball or college football. And so I went to the guy that I really want to play for was a guy named Bobby Crimmins. He was at Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
I grew up going to his camps. He used to coach at Appalachian State and went to Georgia Tech. I wanted to play for Coach Crimmins. Went to a bunch of their games. My high school coach, Bill Burr, assistant with him for a couple of years. And so I had a great relationship. I was in the locker room with Mark Price, John Sally, Tom Hammonds, Bruce Dalrymple, Marbury. I'd go in the locker rooms at half times and knew all those guys. So in 1987, when I was a senior in high school, I had to decide. I was a 6'5" football player, quarterback, but I really hadn't worked at it. And I'd made All-American. I was a state player of the year in North Carolina, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. And so I went on my recruiting trip to Bobby Crimmins, and he said, Brad, what do you think you're better at? He says, I'll give you a scholarship here, but there's a guy named Dennis Scott that's coming here too. He's an All-American. I only play 5 guys. And so you can back him up is what he said.
Yeah.
But he was real to me. He said, Brad, you'll back up Dennis Scott, who ended up having an 11-year career in the NBA. And but he said, I said, my most potential is in football. He said, Brad, I think you ought to go football. And at that time, there was a guy named Vinny Testaverde at the University of Miami, was Heisman winner.
Yeah.
Award number 14. That was the prototypical quarterback that was coming out at that time. And so I said, maybe I could be like him. So that's when I chose to go, for my potential in football to Florida State. That's kind of how those decisions were made.
Through the process, through college ball, was there ever moments you're like, God, I wish I was playing basketball right now?
Yeah. And I actually played 2 years of basketball.
Oh, you did, huh?
I did. My freshman year, I got redshirted in football.
Yeah.
So I was like, what am I doing here? I'm just sitting here. I'm not even running scout team. And so went out, I played basketball, started 13 games my freshman year at Florida State, went to the NCAAs. We got beat by Iowa in the first round by Bruce Marbury. By Marble and B.J. Armstrong.
B.J. Armstrong, yeah.
Yeah.
He had an incredible career.
He did. And then I played my second year, but I kind of got stuck in my second year because I was coming out late for basketball and I wasn't really in basketball shape. And then because we were going to the NCAA tournament in basketball, I was kind of missing half of spring football. So Coach Ballin's like, listen, you can do both, but you may lose in the competition because you're not here full time. Yeah. And so I was like, what am I here for? To be an elite quarterback, to potentially make it to the pros one day. So then I dropped basketball and then just pursued my passion to play football.
Draft here. How exciting of a moment, and obviously for your family and stuff. Let's talk about your parents. When you were drafted, what was their reaction? How proud were they?
This was before social media.
So of course, yeah.
Yeah, at Florida State, I actually started my junior year, and I got benched my junior. So my senior year, I only started one game. My best friend, my challenge, my rival was Casey Weldon. We were the number one team in the country, got beat at the very end. He was the runner-up to the Heisman. We had Charlie Ward, who was behind me. He ended up winning the Heisman, a national championship, and Chris Winkie won a Heisman national championship. They were behind me. And so I didn't really play. I got invited to the combines, which is unique. There's only 20 quarterbacks that get invited to the combine. I got in there, and I thought I was the top quarterback coming out, to be honest with you. I thought I was better than all of them. I just didn't have any playing experience.
Yeah.
And so I thought the New York Giants were going to draft me. They said they want a big guy. They had, and someone they could groom. They had a guy named Phil Simms and Jeff Hostetler. And so they wanted a young guy. So they ended up drafting Kent Graham out of Ohio State in the 4th round. And then at that point, I'm like, that was the only team that had really worked me out. And so I had a friend of mine who actually worked for the Atlanta Falcons. He called me in the 8th round and said, Brad, if you don't get 12 rounds at that time, if you don't get picked up, we want you to come as a free agent. And I said, his name was Campo. I said, Campo, if I don't get drafted, I'm not coming. I'm going back home to Black Mountain. I'm going to be a school teacher. I'm calling it, man. I didn't know how free agency at that time worked, how the draft worked.
Yeah.
Well, the 9th round, we're sitting in my dorm. It's just me and my dad. The draft was 3 days. It was Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Sunday afternoon, the 9th round, and I'm laying on the couch. I'm tired of looking at the ticker come across. Paul Tagliabue announcing the names, and so my dad goes, "Yeah," and I go, "What?" He says, "I think I just saw your name come across the ticker." And so we had to wait like 3 more minutes. He said, Florida State, 227th pick. And so it's just me and my dad laying on the dorm floor there at Florida State. And then I got a call about 5 minutes later from Denny Green, the head coach. The guy that had actually that drafted me under Denny Green was the offensive coordinator, Jack Burns. He was when we first met, he was recruiting me out of the University of Louisville from Black Mountain, where I grew up. So he kind of kept up with my career. He knew I didn't play much in college. He knew I was raw, had a lot of potential, knew I played basketball, and was someone that they could groom that would take a couple years because I just didn't have much college experience. So I'm thankful for Denny Green and Jack Burns for drafting me.
When you think about that moment, you're just telling me your story, you sitting down in your college dorm with your dad, like how special are those moments? Those that locked in your memory bank and you just replay them in your head. Like how special are those moments with your pops?
Yeah, my dad, he's my best friend, and he was my first coach, and teach me how to hold a baseball bat and shoot a basketball, and you know,
Is your dad still around?
yeah, my dad's still living. Yeah, and he's cheering on his grandkids, Max and Jake, and he's at all my ball games. And even though I'm coaching now in high school, he's still the first one there at the games. At 7:30, he's at 5:00 waiting for us to come out. So my dad was, instrumental in my whole career. He's always there for me, whether good or whatever took place. But my biggest fan, but he coached a lot of my teams in youth sports and middle school, and was always there at all my high school games to, cheer me on but critique me at the same time. And my dad always told me, he said two things to me that were very important in my career. Was one, it's better to be prepared and not have an opportunity than to have an opportunity and not be prepared. So you got to be ready for your moment. You never know when your moment's coming. So,
I mean, I love those stories you're saying about your dad, and that is your best friend. And I'll just give you a quick little rundown why. I don't know if you saw that was nodding my head. My dad just passed away 11 weeks ago, and it was a sudden heart attack. And he was my best friend too. I'm the 44-year-old. I would call my dad 3 times a day. I would call my dad a sick night every night. And and he was a big part of my children's lives. And so, man, I appreciate that. And I love that he's at your games. I love, because people never really understand time as a currency till it's gone. They don't appreciate those moments till they're gone. So I understand, and just by the way you talk and everything you're saying is just, obviously you do understand that, you do appreciate that. So man, I love that. And yeah, I'm so happy for you with that, man. So that's incredible. So let's fast forward to your playing career. And I want to pick a couple moments in your mind that are just locked in there during your Super Bowl run. Something that just, a couple moments during that Super Bowl run where you're like, this feels special. This is the year. Give me couple little stories of with teammates or whatever you want, just some special stories during your Super Bowl run with the Buccaneers.
Yeah, I think it all began for me as far as when John Gruden came in.
Yeah.
And the first meeting we had with just me and him was, Brad, we're going to win a Super Bowl this year. And we're going to declare war on our defense of Simeon Rice and Derek Brooks and Warren Sapp and John Lynch and Rondé Barber. This team is known for defense, but it's going to be known for offense too.
Yeah.
And so, how's our defense? And Monty Kiff, the defense coordinator, how are they going to stop U shift to green left west, F short, spiral to U banana, heads up for 358 smoke? How are they going to stop triple right, F right, 358 cannon? You know what I mean? How are they going to stop blast off the joker right, X short, 22X drive, halfback burst? So it became war with our offense versus our defense in minicamp, in training camp, and in the regular season. Every practice was competitive. Yeah. And so for the season, we went 3-1 every 4 games. We're 12-4. Yeah. And the greatness of it with John, we made a bunch of moves in free agency. We brought in 15 to 19 players of Joe Jaravicius and Keenan McCardell and Robin Oben and Kerry Jenkins and Michael Pittman and Ken Dover and Ricky Dudley. And so we upgraded our talent. And so we were able to score points. We were able to be a threat on offense and those kind of things. And so he challenged our defense in different ways. So what I'm kind of getting to is John inspired us. He motivated us. He had us. We're going to win it. We're not just going to kind of get there. We're not going to hope to get there. We're going to do it. We're going to get it done, but it's going to be done work. We're going to be legends on the practice field first and carry it over to games. And so that was our mindset. And to be honest with you, it was a lot of work to learn the verbiage of plays and how to call a play in the huddle and all those kind of things. But I felt very good with concepts of football. October 20th that year, we played the Philadelphia Eagles at Philadelphia, and they beat us 20-10. It felt like they beat us 45-0. It was just, I broke my ribs in that game. I was out for the next couple of weeks, and they kind of had owned us the last few years in the playoffs and had beaten us. They were our nemesis. And so when we finally got to the end of the season, we got to play the Philadelphia Eagles in the vet for the NFC Championship game. It was cold, place we hadn't won. And the night before the game, Gruden said, listen, something bad is probably going to happen early in the game, but let's don't panic. Let's just stay with what we're doing. We're prepared. We knew what it was, but should have been before, but we didn't. They ran the opening kickoff all the way back to our 25-yard line. The next play, they handed off to Deuce Staley. He scores a touchdown. It's 15 degrees. The white towers are flying. They're going to the Super Bowl. That was the momentum of the whole Philadelphia stadium. And so, but we didn't panic. We believed in the process of what had gotten us there. Hard work, a bunch of fighters who were feisty, and we were good enough to win it. And so there was a play in the middle of the game. We had a hard time getting a first down. The play was called triple right, 83 double smash, X option. And so basically there's 2 corner routes, 2 flat routes, and there's an extra option route by Joe Jaravicious. And I almost checked out of the play. I could have checked the 359 sticky, 59 Lexus, or 98 bunch crunch. But I knew if I stuck to my rules of the mini camps, of being taught by Gruden, if we just make a simple bang R call, I wouldn't have to check the play. I wouldn't get sacked. So we made a call. And so basically it left their Mike linebacker on one player, Joe Jaravicious. He made a move. He went 73 yards. It got us a touchdown. And to me, that was the one play that year that, for us offensively, that won us should go down in Buccaneer history as the greatest play ever, because that one play got us going. And then we went on. Rondé Barber had an interception at the end of the game, which people remember. But that game, winning the last game in the vet stadium in the cold to go to the Super Bowl, was a memory of a lifetime for all of us.
I love that. I love that. I love that. When you won the Super Bowl and you were handed that trophy, what was running through your head? Like moments of your dad, moments of your college, like replay that moment.
Yeah. So in 1987, going back to when I had to choose between basketball and football, that was the year of the great New York Giants. Phil Simms was the quarterback.
Yeah.
They beat the great John Elway.
Yeah.
Phil Simms went 22 for 25, threw 3 touchdowns. And after the game, confetti was falling. He said, "I'm going to Disney." You know?
Yeah.
16 years later, here I am after winning the Super Bowl. The confetti's falling. I'm holding my son. I got a picture of it here. All right.
That's awesome. Yeah.
That's me, Gruden, my wife, Nikki. She's 7.5 months pregnant with the other son, Jake. I'm holding Max in my arms, and we're saying, we're going to Disney. It was an incredible feeling. And so I have another picture here of holding the trophy. So basically, as a quarterback, you want to be remembered for being the best quarterback in the world for one moment in time that on the best team in the world. And so I achieved that goal. It's pretty incredible to say, you know, we won it all. I remember the song called "We're the Champions of the World." And that's what's playing in the background by Queen. It's played at all the championships now, but that was our moment. That was our time. And it was a pretty incredible moment.
Of all the teammates on that team, how many or there's a few that you've really kept a close bond with all these years past?
There's been a few of them. One, my center, Jeff Christie. We actually played together in Minnesota for a bunch of years, and he was my center in Tampa. Joe Jaravicious. I'm actually going to see him here in a couple of weeks at the Hall of Fame. As John Lynch, we stayed in touch. He's getting ready to be inducted to the Hall of Fame. Derek Brooks, Warren Sapp, Mike Allstott, Rondé Barber. So there's a group of us that have kind of just stayed in touch. We see each other at different golf tournaments and different places. But there's just a unique bond that we will always be together, regardless of where our lives go, because we're connected by winning the Super Bowl. Doesn't change who we are, but it definitely gave us a platform. But it was definitely for all of us, for those guys that made the Hall of Fame, for those of us that just in our lives that we can say that we achieved it. And when I look at the ring, I don't say this is it makes me a Super Bowl champion. I look at that ring and say, you know what? I believed that a small kid from a small town in Black Mountain, North Carolina, things, being inspired by a guy like Gruden to come in and help us get it done. So we all believed in each other. So that's when I look at the ring, I think of, you know, it can be done, but we have to believe in ourselves and in each other.
I love that word, believe. It's so powerful. I want to talk about your wife. Before you get there, I have to ask a question. I'm a baseball guy. You being 6'5" with a cannon arm, how were you not scouted for baseball as a pitcher?
Yeah, I played Little League baseball until I was like 12 years old, and then I stopped playing. I got into football and basketball. So I was done with baseball at 12 years old.
Okay. I was in my head, I'm like, that's like Major League Scouts drooling at a 6'5" power arm. Your wife, where'd you meet your wife?
Yeah. My quarterback coach at Florida State was Mark Richt.
Yeah.
Who later became the head coach at Georgia and Miami. And so my wife, his sister, played volleyball at South Florida. And so I'd always heard about Nikki in college playing volleyball and things, but I never got to meet her. So after I graduated 1 year at Florida State, I'd always go back and I played racquetball with Coach Richt and those kind of things. He said, man, I think I need to hook you up with my sister. You just need to meet my sister. You know what I mean? So she was living in Tampa. She came up to Tallahassee. We went bowling. I had pizza, just had an easy night. But timing is critical of everything.
Yeah.
And we just the timing wasn't right. So 5 years later, we have another night. And she made another visit. We had another night. I went bowling with her family. We had pizza, the same thing. And then when the night was over, we kind of like, it's long distance. We live 8 hours from each other. You know, how's this thing going to even happen? Well, Mark's wife, Catherine, said, listen, she brought Nikki over to my apartment, had bought TCBY ice cream. And so we were having TCBY ice cream. We played Yahtzee, just me and Nikki, till like 1 a.m, just talking. And I knew right away that was my wife. Someone that was easy to, I could talk with. She was competitive. She was an athlete. She was beautiful. We just got along well. And so from that point on, that's when we began dating. And then eventually we got married.
How would you describe what she means to you in your career and her support and all that stuff? Because as an athlete, I mean, you're in the limelight, you travel a lot, like you need that anchor when you come home. And I'm sure that for you to be married for that long and obviously have 2 beautiful children, she must have been a very strong anchor and support in your career, right?
There's no doubt. She's my anchor. She's very unselfish. So right when we got married, I was playing for the Minnesota Vikings and physical therapist. She went to Nova University down in Boca Raton. Right when she got her license to become a physical therapist, we get married. But I'm 6 months in Minnesota. I'm 6 months and back at home. I'm all over the place.
Yeah.
So she didn't really get to practice her craft of being a physical therapist, but she took care of everything that I needed, from just hosting people on weekends for the family get-togethers, helping me out with the golf tournaments or whatever was taking place. So she had to give up her life for that. And then as soon as we got married, I got traded to the Washington Redskins. I'd had a neck injury. We were trying to sell a house in Minnesota. We were building a house in Tallahassee. We were buying a house in Washington, D.C. I was learning a new system. I mean, there's a lot going on. Yeah. But she was my anchor. She was always there with me. And as a quarterback, I mean, not every day is a good day. Yeah. You know, everyone sees the touchdown pass. They see the glory of it, but they don't know the injuries that come with it, the stress that comes with it, and all of the above. So I could just say she's my rock. She's my anchor. And we've grown in our relationship. You know, obviously we've been married for 21 years. We have 2 boys, Max and Jake. And she's grown in so many ways as a leader of our house. She got into, now she paints furniture. You bring over your bedroom sets or she paints any kind of furniture you have. And I'm the guy that loads the furniture up in the truck for these people, those kind of things. But we have a great relationship. And it's really weird, you know, Jeff. I'm kind of a quirky guy, yeah. And so, you know, what do you want in a wife? You know, at the time, I had 3 prerequisites. You know, one was they had to be blonde. 2, I wanted someone that had a master's degree, so they're probably gonna be smarter than me. And 3, I don't like ketchup. And so Nikki, she doesn't like ketchup. So I got all 3 of it with her. I got the blonde hair. She's beautiful. I got the master's degree. She's smart, and we don't have ketchup in our house. It's the craziest thing you've ever seen. So, but I love it.
I love it. your children, before we talk about them and what they're doing in college right now, and what does fatherhood mean to you?
Oh, it's opportunity.
I love that. I love that. You know what? I don't even ask this question a lot to parents because, I mean, I don't know if you did any research on me, but I mean, I'm an entrepreneur for 26 years, but a huge passion of mine is helping fathers and entrepreneurs find a balance and learn how to live both at a peak, because there's always it's a separation there with careers and being a father. I even wrote a book called Entrepreneurial Dad, and I love that. No one's ever said that opportunity.
Yeah.
Explain that.
Yeah. You can. I think more is caught than taught.
Yeah.
One of those things. So your kids are watching you at all times.
I love that.
How do you respond on a good day? How do you respond on a bad day? How do you act at the dinner table? How are you? You know? And so my wife and I are on the same page by constantly reaffirming our love for them, our constantly being disciplined with them. And what are you today and what are you going to be later? You know? Yeah. And so we've tried to be, obviously I'm fortunate enough where I don't have to work, but I've coached all their teams all the time. And so growing up as a kid, I tried to either touch, pat on the back, encourage, or say, I love you over 100 times a day to them. So even today, if I say, I love you too, Dad. I love you. I love you too, Dad. It's constant at this age still. And it's not a problem with us to say those kind of things out in public, you know. And one of the cool things we did, we were Christians, and one of the coolest as going through the adolescence, there's a thing called hold on a second. Can you hold on a second?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it. I lost my word there. Okay. So one of the coolest things we did was we went through a book called Passport to Purity. So it's talking about raising your kid, talking about sex education, and kind of these are the changes that are going to take place in your body, in your mind, and it's something that we're all a part of. So, but we had open conversations about sex, about boys and girls, and how you grow up to be men and women. And so I would encourage anybody that's going through the sex education process to go through this thing called Passport to Purity. It's a Christian way to teach your kids through sex education kind of deal. So it's an I would encourage everyone to go that route.
There's two things you said there. I'm going to jump on quickly. The indirect mentoring. I don't think people really put a big thought process on that. What I mean by indirect mentoring, exactly what you said, is what you say all the time. Your children are constantly watching everything you do. And sometimes it's not the direct mentoring, it's the indirect mentoring. Is what you say when you're not meaning to say it is what they lock into their minds. So being relevant in your mind to understand that everything you do, every action you take is a lesson to them is so valid and so important. I think a lot of people don't pay attention to that. And they might indirectly do something that they don't realize it, and their children are picking up on all that stuff, especially from a very, very young age. So I love what you said that. And in the love, I mean, at 44, I had a strong European dad, and I would give him a big kiss on it. I'm 6'2", my dad's 5'7", well, was 5'7". I'd still bend over and give him a big kiss on his head and a big hug and tell him I loved him every time I saw him. Same with my kids. Every morning before we go to bed, we're constantly, it's always hugs, good night, love you. Like it's so precious to do that. And I love that you're very open with it, because it's so important. It's so important. So I appreciate that. Your boys are both in college. Where do they go to school? Position they play, and is NFL something in their minds right now?
Right. We have two boys, Max and Jake. Yep. Max is he's heading into his second year. He's a quarterback at LSU. He wears number 14. He's lefty. I don't know how the lefty thing happened. So it was pretty awesome to watch him. He got an opportunity to play some games last year. Start his last two games against the University of Florida and won those two games, and he's in a battle right now for the start. You got me?
Yeah, I got you, buddy. Yeah, you're good.
And he's in a battle for a starting position now. So hopefully he wins that and marches on. And then my other son, Jake, he's a top recruit as a tight end in the country. He's actually committed to LSU also. He'll graduate this fall and be early enrollee at LSU also. So it's really different coaching both kids, different temperaments, different positions. With Max as a quarterback, I've coached him pretty much out of the womb of how doing a 3-step, 5-step drop and where your eyes need to go here and who's the mic call and how to throw different kind of balls. But with Jake as a tight end, I don't know how to block. I don't know how to run routes. Those are things I don't know. So the pressure of playing quarterback is a lot more as a parent. You're in tune to everything. As a parent watching Jake, my other son, it's just kind of relaxed, dude. I want to yell at the quarterback for not throwing to him more often. So it's those kind of things, but they get along very, very well. They're like, I call them like Tom and Jerry, the cartoon characters. They fight with each other all day, and it's crazy. I'm like, just
what's the age gap between them?
It's a 2 years age gap.
Yeah, same with my kids.
Yeah, they're both about 6. Max is about 6'5", 220. Jake's about 6'5" and a half, 6'6", 230. So it's competitive. I'm better than you. I'm better than you at everything. Golf, tennis, pool table, ping pong.
Both big boys, huh?
They're big boys. Yeah, they are great kids. But but when they come to football, there's no fighting. They just work together. Yeah. They want to, just improve each other and those kind of things. So it's pretty unique. The relationship that they have, with each other, and actually getting ready to play in college together is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, and obviously you're gleaming, so you got the dad proud moment. Let's talk about Brad. How did Brad Johnson get on TikTok? Yeah,
it was crazy. About a year ago, the pandemic was taking place, so we had a lot of time at the house together, and my kids we were working out together. They were doing online classes, from college classes to high school classes. In spare time, everybody's on their computers or phones and those kind of things. And so they started getting on TikTok. I'm like, what is this all about? So we started watching, and we actually made a couple family TikToks and those kind of things. And I said, well, I'm gonna try to go with a secret name. I'm going with Big Bad Brad 14. And I started making some TikToks of my own of some stuff I did in my career and those kind of things, and just kind of I had some fun with it,
Yeah.
About the last 4 or 5 months, I've done a lot of trick shots on there with basketball and football, and whether I'm throwing at a goalpost or shooting 4 or 5 different trick shots at one time. And I never try to make just one trick shot. I try to do 3, 4, 5 trick shots in a row, spin off my finger over a backboard, and then finish the video with throwing the football into a basketball goal or whatever it may be. It's kind of crazy, but if I don't make that last shot, then it doesn't count, and I'll do it again. So some of these videos I've done in 5 minutes, and some of these videos I've done in 2 days.
I was going to say to you, behind the scenes, huh? Behind the scenes.
If I'm ever on there with sweat and I put a lot of work into, if I ever make that last shot, then I'm stoked. I'm pumped up, and so I've been kind of silly with it, but I actually got my hat here.
I love it. I love it.
Hat. It was actually given to me 20 years ago at the Super Bowl. And so I started wearing it. On the front, it says Big Bad Brad 14, which is my TikTok. And on the side is the Roman numerals, like that. And so basically, at the very end of the video, I'll stick it out and I'll point out to people, and they're like, what is going on? So what we're doing pretty soon here, I'm going to do a merchandise deal with it. And all the money that we make is going to go to Beyond All Borders. I'm involved with a couple of charities up in Asheville, North Carolina, where I grew up. And one's the Evelyn Foundation, but all this money that we raise by selling hats and T-shirts and those kind of things will go to Beyond All Borders. It's helping people from A to Z. And so hopefully that'll come out soon. But people must think, when I put the hat on, I'm making videos. It's like Superman putting on his cape. I can do a video without the hat now. So it's silly. I have fun doing it. Hopefully everyone can enjoy it. So.
I was reading something before I went on, and I usually am very curious, and I try not to read up anything on our guests, but you obviously started that trick shot already in the NFL, being the first player to pass yourself and score a touchdown. How did that come along? Was that a pre-made play or just a reaction play?
It was a reaction play. Basically in 1996, playing with the Minnesota Vikings, we were playing against the Carolina Panthers. In 1997, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And the play was dot left spear, rip Dallas. Basically, it's a little stick route to the tight end. We're on the 3-yard line. I threw the ball got batted back up to me. I knew because it was third down and we were close. So if I got sacked, we could actually kick a field goal. And but basically, usually you want to bat the ball down because you don't want to get sacked or an interception. So, but I caught it. I made a couple of moves. I scrambled, dove into the end zone. Ended up being, we didn't know what it was. It was a touchdown pass, touchdown catch, no clue. And then at the very, when the game was over, the media guy, PR guy said, Brad, it was a touchdown pass and touchdown catch. It's the first time in the history it's ever done. And so it ended up being 12 points in fantasy football and won an ESPY award for play of the year. And it was a cool play that I could say I was a part of. And then just a couple years ago, Marcus Mariota for Tennessee Titans, he did it in the playoffs against the Kansas City Chiefs. And so we've actually had a couple laughs about that also.
I love it. I love it. I have a couple more questions, but one of them I always ask everybody at the end. If something were to happen to you today, how would you want to be remembered or described by your loved ones?
It's a great question. I think Brad loves life. You know, he wanted to be, for me, I never want to have regrets. I don't want to have regrets. I want to take the chance. I want to take the challenge. You know, the pain versus disappointment. Pain is temporary, disappointment's for a lifetime. So if you didn't do the work, you know, it's a disappointment. But if you did the work, if you did the extra sprints, if you did your extra homework and your whatever your craft may be, you did all you could do. And I think just being someone that was a good friend to everyone, I think that's how I'd want to be remembered.
I love it. I love it. I love the no regrets because it's something I'm very passionate about as well, the way I try to live my life. One last question, and this is something I always love hearing from different athletes' perspective. Retirement. Was football, the identity of football, attached to you still, or were you allowed in your mind okay with walking away with it at that time? Yeah,
I played 17 years in the NFL,
which is crazy. When you think of the longevity of the careers, like of most athletes in that sport, it's insane. Yeah.
Considering from where I came from at Florida State, not playing at all.
Yeah.
My goal was to make it 1 year to say I played in the NFL, play 4 years, which I could get retirement. 7 years, I thought that would be a career. Ended up going 17 years, which was incredible. Looking back at it, I loved every day. I loved the grind. I loved the work. I wish I could have played 10 more years. I really did. Yeah. And my problem at that time, my knees were shot.
Yeah.
I couldn't play. I couldn't. My elbows.
How old were you when you retired?
I retired right when I was at 40 years old.
Which is very, like, there's only a few guys when I'm thinking like the Favres, like there's only a few that really get to that age, right?
Brady's there now. Vinny Testaverde,
Warren. Yeah.
There's certain levels of your time. When you turn 30, your body changes a little bit. When you turn 34, 37, 40, you drop off a little bit. Just naturally you do. But I was a guy that kept myself in great shape. But at that time, I had some injuries. So it kind of helped me to retire, to be honest with you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't throw the way I wanted to throw. I couldn't run the way I wanted to run. So I was at peace with my career being over.
Good.
I'd accomplished with as much as I wanted to win 3-4 Super Bowls. I won one.
Yeah.
But it wasn't even about winning the Super Bowl. It was more about just I felt like I did everything I could do to be the player that I was, at whatever level that was. And so I was okay with retirement. But when I retired, I was done with football. I really wanted to be with my family. I didn't want to just like, I'm going to be a talk show guy doing TV games or go coach for some college or pro team or those kind of things. So I've coached my kids all the way from youth football all the way through high school. Now I've been coaching for the last 12 years.
Yeah.
Help out coaching high school football at a school now called Oconee County High School. We went to the state championship the last 2 years in a row. Got beat in the finals, so we didn't win it. Yeah. But I think the goal is just for me now is to help others become the best that they can become. So if it's a kid that's in 7th grade, maybe I can get him to be the starter for his middle school team. Maybe it's a high school kid, he can make all conference and we can win the conference region. I help kids. I don't ever charge money. If a dad or kid reaches out to me, I'm going to give them as much time as I can.
I love that.
One of the coolest moments I looked, for me, honestly, was teaching the kid how to throw a football. Was it was right when I was in college, coming out, right, my first year or two in the pros I was actually working at a basketball camp up in Kentucky. And there's these two kids from France at this basketball camp up in Grayson, Kentucky. And so one day out of the basketball camp, they let the kids go to Lexington, to a mall, to buy some stuff. So they bought three things. They bought blue jeans. Okay. They bought shoes. At that time, they were called Nikes. Yeah. Those just right when they were coming out. And they bought a football. And these two guys were out there throwing a football. They were throwing like a shot put, you know? And it was just like, let me see the ball. And I put my fingers on the laces, show them how to hold the ball. And I throw a ball about 40 yards and they're like, whoa, do it again. Whoa. So they got enjoyment of seeing what a ball could do. And so I have enjoyment to see a kid throw a ball better. I get enjoyment from a kid encouraging someone besides himself, you know? So those kind of things. And so I love coaching kids. I love being around people and helping out in any way I can.
I love it, man. This has been awesome. And I appreciate your time today. Thank you for coming on. Anything else you want to say to our audience before we finish off today?
No, I think I'm just thankful for the opportunity to share some stories. You can find me on Instagram or Twitter, and I keep everything really light, really fun, those kind of things. So catch up with me and always reach out to me. But I'm thankful for the opportunity, Jeff, just kind of telling you some stories about my family, my wife, my kids, and just kind of a little bit how I grew up. So I appreciate that.
I love that. I love it. On all our show notes, I'm going to put all the links to TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. You want to get a hold of Brad. And thanks so much, brother.
Yeah, man. I appreciate it, Jeff. Thank you, buddy.